Bonjour tout le monde. Je suis très heureux d'être ici avec la ministre Murray, la Dr Tam et la secrétaire parlementaire Vandenbelt. Before I get started, let me wish Eid Mubarak to all Muslim Canadians celebrating today. Although this year will be different than normal, I know that the values of charity and community will be as strong as ever. Today, I want to talk about where we are on a number of important items: the spread of the virus and new tools to address it, support for farm workers and small businesses, and finally, the future of the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. Let me start with the spread of the virus. In just the past week, we've seen COVID-19 cases rising in many communities. Frankly, it's a reminder that we can't let down our guard. So please, keep doing your part and follow the recommendations of public health officials like those who are working incredibly hard here at PHAC. Because that's how you'll keep yourself and others safe. And to all the women and men working here at the Public Health Agency and in teams right across the country, thank you for your outstanding service. Since March, Canadians have been working around the clock to keep each other safe. And together, we've come up with innovative solutions to meet an unprecedented challenge. A few weeks ago, I announced that our government was working with the Government of Ontario, BlackBerry, and Shopify volunteers on a new app to help slow the spread of this virus. As of this morning, the COVID Alert app is ready to download through the App Store on your phone. Right now, it's connected to the Ontario Health. Other provinces will be joining in soon. So people across the country can and should download it today. This is another tool to protect your health. Here's how it works. The app will let you know if you've been in contact with someone who has the app and has tested positive for COVID-19. If that's the case, it will then encourage you to call your provincial health services for guidance on what to do. I want to be clear, this app isn't mandatory. It's completely voluntary to download and to use. And it doesn't collect your name, your address, your geolocation, or any other personal information. I've downloaded the app this morning, and I encourage you to do the same. The more people use it, the better it can trace and therefore slow the spread of the virus. In fact, health experts say that if enough people sign up, this app can help prevent future outbreaks of COVID-19 in Canada. I know that Premier Ford will have more to say about this Made in Ontario system, but I want to thank him for his partnership in getting this program up and running. We're working hard with our Atlantic provincial partners to integrate their health systems into the app next, and we expect that they'll be coming on board soon as well. Depuis ce matin, vous pouvez télécharger la nouvelle application Alerte COVID dans l'App Store de votre téléphone. En ce moment, l'application est connectée au système de santé de l'Ontario, mais on sait que les autres provinces vont bientôt suivre. À travers le pays, les gens peuvent et devraient télécharger l'application gratuitement dès aujourd'hui. L'appli va vous informer si vous entrez en contact avec quelqu'un d'autre qui a l'appli et qui a testé positif pour la COVID-19. Si ça arrive, vous allez être dirigé vers les autorités sanitaires de votre province et ils vont vous expliquer la suite des choses. C'est un autre outil qu'on met à votre disposition pour protéger votre santé. Personne n'est obligé de télécharger l'application, mais plus il y a de gens qui l'utilisent, mieux elle fonctionnera. En fait, les spécialistes de la santé disent que si assez de gens l'utilisent, ça pourrait même aider à prévenir les futures éclosions de COVID-19 au pays. J'ai moi-même téléchargé plus tôt ce matin l'application et je vous encourage à faire la même chose dès aujourd'hui. L'application ne recueille pas votre nom, votre adresse, votre géolocalisation ou vos renseignements personnels. Since the start of the pandemic, our government has worked hard to keep Canadians safe while getting people the support they need. Of course, we know there's still more to be done, so today we're taking yet another step forward. This morning, I can announce that our government is investing almost $59 million to protect the health and safety of migrant workers on Canadian farms. This will fund more farm inspections, provide emergency relief when needed, and improve the overall living conditions on farms. We also know that help is needed right now in many locations. Currently, thanks to the $100 million investment we announced in May, the Red Cross is helping the most at-risk workers in the Windsor-Essex region in particular. Ministers Qualtrough, Debo, and Mendicino are also looking at ways to improve the temporary foreign worker program as a whole. This includes measures like developing mandatory requirements for better living conditions for workers so that we can continue to support and protect the people who keep food on our plates. Que vous soyez étudiant ou que vous cherchiez une job à temps plein, il y a beaucoup d'opportunités en ce moment dans le secteur de l'agriculture et de l'agroalimentaire. Les gens qui travaillent dans ce domaine nourrissent nos familles et remplissent les étagères de nos épiceries. Si ça vous intéresse, je vous encourage à aller chercher de l'information à propos du programme Mettez la main à la pâte sur le site agr.gc.ca. Je veux aussi parler un peu de ce qu'on fait pour soutenir les travailleurs et les entreprises dans l'ensemble de l'économie. Tout d'abord, on sait que pour de nombreuses entreprises, payer le loyer après des mois de perte de revenus, c'est pas évident. Au printemps, on a instauré l'aide d'urgence du Canada pour le loyer commercial qui permet de réduire de 75% le loyer des petites entreprises. Over 700,000 employees have benefited from the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance, people who've been able to keep their jobs because of the help businesses got through this program. And we know there are even more people still to reach. And that's why we are officially extending the Canada Emergency Commercial Rent Assistance Program for the month of August. Today, I also want to speak about what comes next for the millions of people who still rely on the Canada Emergency Response Benefit. In the weeks ahead, we'll have more details about what will come after the CERB. But to people who need this program, don't worry, no one will be left behind. Our goal is to transition everyone on the CERB to employment insurance, because EI should cover every Canadian who's looking for work. And for those who don't qualify for EI right now, like gig or contract workers, we will create a transitional parallel benefit that is similar to employment insurance. It will include access to training and being able to work more hours and earn more money while receiving the benefit. That's only appropriate as our economy reopens and brings back more jobs. There will also be a sickness and caregivers benefit for Canadians not covered at work if they get COVID-19 or if their kids or parents get it and they have to take care of them. We'll have more details to share before the end of August, but here's the bottom line. We intend to cover every Canadian who is looking for work with a better 21st century EI system. That is our goal. And of course, there will be no increase to EI premiums during this challenging time. Notre but, c'est de transférer toute l'assurance-emploi. L'assurance-emploi devrait couvrir tous les Canadiens qui cherchent du travail. Et pour ceux qui n'y auront toujours pas accès, comme les travailleurs à contrat, on va créer une prestation de transition similaire à l'assurance-emploi. Cette prestation va notamment prévoir un accès à la formation et permettre aux gens de retourner au travail et de gagner plus d'argent tout en recevant des prestations. On va aussi créer un programme de prestations de maladie et de prestations pour proches aidants. Si vous ne pouvez pas travailler parce que vous êtes malade, si vous prenez soin de quelqu'un, on va avoir plus de détails à partager dans les semaines à venir, mais voici ce qu'il faut retenir. On a l'intention de couvrir tous les Canadiens qui cherchent du travail grâce à un régime d'assurance-emploi amélioré et adapté au 21e siècle. Et évidemment, pas question d'augmenter les cotisations à l'assurance-emploi durant cette période difficile. Merci. Je suis maintenant content de prendre vos questions.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We'll start on the phones. Just a reminder, one question, one follow-up. Operator.
Thank you. Merci. Première question, Hélène Buzetti, Le Devoir. À vous.
Oui, bonjour, Monsieur Trudeau. J'aimerais revenir à votre témoignage. Vous nous avez dit hier que vous ne saviez pas que Monsieur Morneau avait fait un voyage avec Uni. Mais trouvez-vous que c'était une bonne idée? Pensez-vous que quand on est ministre des Finances pour un pays du G7, on peut, le temps de ses vacances, enlever son chapeau pour faire ce genre d'activité?
Je pense qu'il y a beaucoup de gens que, quel que soit leur emploi, sont intéressés à aider, à appuyer des organismes qui font du bon travail partout dans le monde. Je sais que c'est une situation où des gens ont des questions pour M. Morneau, mais pour moi, de voir des gens dans toutes sortes d'emplois encore être impliqués dans leur communauté, vouloir aider pour faire une différence et pas juste prendre des vacances personnelles, mais appuyer des bonnes causes partout dans le monde, je pense que les gens comprennent que c'est en général une bonne idée. I think obviously there's questions for Mr. Morneau that he has already addressed, but the idea that someone on their personal vacation would choose to support a good cause or get involved in helping make the world a better place is not something that we should reject or turn away from. I think a lot of people in a lot of different jobs are always looking to see how they can make an even greater difference in helping people around the world, and that is certainly something that we should remain open to.
Donc, j'en comprends, M. Trudeau, que vous n'êtes pas choqué par ce voyage. Et il y a beaucoup de gens qui vous demandent que M. Morneau démissionne ou parle d'un remaniement ministériel dans un contexte où on a un déficit projeté d'à peu près 350 milliards. Pouvez-vous vous permettre de changer de ministre des Finances?
D'abord, laissez-moi dire que, évidemment, comme M. Morneau l'a dit, ça a été une erreur de ne pas rembourser, d'avoir accepté cette aide pour le voyage, et il s'en est excusé. Mais souvenons-vous que le travail qu'on a fait et que particulièrement le ministre des Finances a fait au cours des derniers mois pour aider des millions de Canadiens dans une situation extrêmement difficile demeure et demeurait notre priorité. Nous allons continuer, comme j'ai annoncé aujourd'hui, d'être là pour les gens qui ont besoin d'aide dans ces moments d'incertitude. Même si on voit l'économie commencer à reprendre, on sait qu'il y a encore beaucoup de travail à faire pour être là pour eux et on va continuer ce travail. As Mr. Morneau himself highlighted, he apologized and he should not have accepted the elements of that were gifts. But at the same time, the work that we're doing, the work that he has done as finance minister and continues to do in being there for Canadians, as I talked about today, the ability to continue to be there for the millions of Canadians through the CERB, through the wage subsidy and other programs while we continue this pandemic. Even as we're seeing the economy reopen in many ways, there's still millions of Canadians who are looking for work and for whom there are no jobs. And we need to continue to stay focused on doing that work to keep Canadians supported through this historic pandemic.
Merci. Prochaine question. Operator.
Thank you. Merci. Prochaine question, Mélanie Marquis, La Presse. À vous.
Bonjour, M. Trudeau. Encore au sujet de votre témoignage d'hier, pourquoi avez-vous ignoré ou passé outre les drapeaux rouges que vous-même aviez vus le 8 mai pour ensuite aller approuver la décision du cabinet?
Ce que j'ai vu le 8 mai m'a donné m'a amené à repousser contre ce programme-là, de dire si effectivement c'est la recommandation de la fonction publique d'aller de l'avant avec le programme uni, bien, il fallait qu'il s'assure que c'est exactement la bonne chose, que c'est tout à fait justifiable. Alors, mes inquiétudes par rapport à ce programme, ces drapeaux rouges qui ont été élevés, m'ont amené à dire « wow les moteurs », on fait des vérifications supplémentaires, on s'assure qu'effectivement c'est le seul programme qui pourrait livrer ce programme, c'est le seul organisme qui pourrait livrer ce programme et on s'assure que tout est bien bouclé. C'est la réaction que j'ai eue. Comme j'ai dit il y a plusieurs semaines, ça aurait été préférable que je me retire entièrement, que même je ne repousse pas, mais que je me désengage tout à fait de cette proposition. Mais à la place, j'ai choisi de repousser et d'exiger plus de vérification. Je regrette d'avoir pris cette décision-là parce qu'on est dans une situation où ce programme est en grande difficulté. As I said, when I received the information on May 8th that the Public Service was recommending We Charity to deliver this program, I pushed back. I said, let's make sure that indeed this is the only organization that can deliver this program, that everything about this program is tightly buckled down, that we know exactly that it's the right program, that the public service are absolutely confident that this is the only way to go forward with this program. As we know now, and as I look back in hindsight, it would have been better that instead of pushing back and asking for extra verification, I had simply removed myself entirely from the discussion. I regret not having removed myself from the discussion, but pushing on making sure that it was the right program was something that was done for the right reasons and in the right way.
Oui, donc vous avez demandé à ce qu'on procède à des vérifications approfondies, là, ça je comprends, donc le due diligence. Qu'est-ce qu'on vous a dit pour vous rassurer exactement? Et puis, est-ce que, dans un deuxième temps, est-ce que vous y avez pensé à un moment à vous récuser ou ça ne vous a pas traversé l'esprit?
Moi, les préoccupations que j'avais par rapport à cet organisme et par rapport à cette situation m'ont amené, au lieu de me retirer, à repousser contre la situation pour m'assurer que tout le monde fasse les vérifications nécessaires en plus de ce qu'ils avaient déjà fait. On m'a assuré au cours des prochaines semaines qu'ils avaient effectivement revérifié, fait des suivis et ils étaient très très confiants dans leurs recommandations que c'était le seul organisme qui allait pouvoir livrer ce programme. Et comme vous savez, je fais confiance à notre fonction publique extraordinaire qui a livré pendant cette pandémie des programmes nouvelles, jamais vu et extrêmement efficace pour aider des millions de Canadiens de façon extrêmement flexible et créative. As I said, when I heard that this program was being chosen to deliver the CSSG, I pushed back. I should have, in hindsight, pulled away and said, I don't want to be involved in this at all. I shouldn't because of family connections. Instead, I said, whoa, let's put the brakes on. Let's check. Let's go do extra verifications. Obviously, hindsight is always 20/20, and I wish I had recused myself instead because this program is right now not delivering the support to students who are volunteering across the country. But I asked the public service to really dig in, to triple check. I asked the ministers to triple check to make sure that we could confidently say that this truly was the only program that could, the only organization that could deliver this program in time for this summer. And when the answers came back that yes, indeed, it is absolutely the only program that could do it, I allowed it to go to Cabinet for an up or down decision. Either we have this summer grant program through WE organization, or we do not have a summer grant program at all.
Thank you. And we'll take one more question on the phone.
Merci. Next question. Alex Dalgar, the Toronto Star. Line open.
Good morning, Prime Minister. After those red flags came up for you when you saw the proposal on May 8th, between May 8th and the 22nd when Cabinet approved it, did you or your staff go to the Ethics Commissioner and ask about your family's ties to WE and if this was a problem? Did you discuss that at all in that time frame with the Ethics Commissioner?
No, we did not. As I said, the Ethics Commissioner had already cleared my wife for working in an unpaid basis with the WE organization through a podcast and through events where they covered her travel-related expenses, but did not pay her. That was already pre-cleared by the Ethics Commissioner.
A follow-up, Alex?
If the due diligence that you asked for in that time, did any of it address your worries about a perceived conflict, or was there anything that was done to address that, or did you ultimately decide that the program was worth overlooking your worries about a perceived conflict?
The due diligence, extra due diligence I asked for was about really being able to stand in front of Canadians and in front of critiques from the opposition that were undoubtedly to come because of this program's links to me and to a number of members of my government, that this was the right recommendation made independently of any of those issues. The due diligence I pushed on was in order to make sure that this was indeed the right program, the only program only way to be able to move forward with the program.
Hi, Prime Minister. Tom Perry, CBC. On the app, what's the holdup for getting other provinces to buy into this, and do you have a timeline for when this is going to be a national program?
Excellent question. First of all, the app is something that we have developed in partnership with Ontario. There were a number of decisions we had to take. We had to wait for Apple and Google to update their operating systems so that they could do the Bluetooth handshakes in the background that the app relies on. Many of the other apps tried in other jurisdictions like Australia and Singapore required a level of activity in the front of your phone. People who downloaded it didn't often use it to its full capacity. So we were reliant on the operating systems to be updated. As that happened, we then worked with experts from BlackBerry and Shopify and others to make sure that the code was right, did a significant amount of beta testing, and now Ontario is ready to move forward. It's our largest province. They have done extraordinary work in creating those links with their public health system. Across the country, now what is needed to happen, and we're looking at the Maritimes next and a number of other provinces that are working very hard to align with this, is they have to make sure that their provincial and territorial public health agencies have the ability to give to anyone who tests positive a code that they can then input into the app so that the system knows that their phone has tested or they have tested positive. Again, this is a situation where I would want to know, people will want to know if someone who they came in contact with over the past few days suddenly tested positive. They don't need to know who, and there's no privacy information shared in this. But you will know if someone in proximity with over the past 2 weeks has suddenly tested positive for COVID, you'll get a notification that says you should now call your local public health agency and next steps. But in order to be able to do that in each province, we have to coordinate with the local public health agency to do that. And that's what we're working on now that we have the system up and running in Ontario, in our largest province. It will hopefully be up and running for local public health agencies right across the country in the coming weeks. Pour l'application, on a travaillé avec l'Ontario pour le développer. Il fallait se baser sur un travail que devaient faire Apple et Google sur les systèmes à la base de leur téléphone pour permettre les connexions Bluetooth automatiques sans avoir à s'en préoccuper en tant qu'utilisateur. Mais maintenant que ça a été fait et qu'on a fait des vérifications du beta testing, on peut maintenant lancer l'application à travers le Canada avec le maximum de fonctionnalités en Ontario parce que le système de santé en Ontario a maintenant la capacité de donner à toute personne qui testera positif un code pour que l'application puisse partager qu'il y a eu un test positif. Comme j'ai dit, ça ne va pas partager de l'information personnelle du tout, mais quelqu'un qui teste positif va, en entrant le code précis dans son téléphone, va pouvoir aviser les personnes avec qui ils auraient pu avoir contact dans les dernières 2 semaines qu'il y a quelqu'un qui ont été en proximité qui a été testé positif. Encore une fois, c'est une combinaison de protection absolue de la vie privée, tout en permettant aux gens de faire des choix, d'aider leur communauté et d'être notifiés, d'être alertés s'ils sont en proximité avec quelqu'un qui a par la suite testé positif. Donc, on est en train de travailler avec les autres provinces. On s'attend à ce que les provinces de l'Atlantique fassent partie de l'application très rapidement. Et on est en train de travailler avec tous les autres organismes de santé publique des provinces et des territoires pour leur permettre d'avoir toute la fonctionnalité pour leurs citoyens dans les semaines à venir.
And on the student service grant, you said yesterday it's unlikely you're going to be able to roll it out this summer. So is the program now dead? And if it is, what are you going to do to help the students who are relying on it, and what are you going to do with the money that you've set aside for it?
First of all, we continue to roll out massive supports for young people, for students across the country. The Canada Emergency Response Benefit for students gives $1,250 a month to many, many, many students across the country, and indeed more help than that to students with dependents or living with disabilities. On top of that, we've created more jobs, the summer jobs program. We've done a deferral of student loans. All these things are continuing to support. What will not happen so far with the CSSG, and I know the Minister is still working on ways of delivering this grant, is that young people who are right now busy volunteering across the country in many different organizations will not, unfortunately, be able to get credit for the work they've done volunteering that would have led to $1,000 up to a $5,000 grant because of their volunteerism. That is the element that's not happening so far, and we are still looking at ways that we can coordinate, oversee, and deliver the, grants like that to students. We're still looking for it, but at the same time, just because the grants aren't flowing doesn't mean that young people are not stepping up in a myriad of ways across the country to contribute to their communities and to support Canadians. Nous avons entrepris beaucoup de mesures pour aider les étudiants. La PCU étudiante, par exemple, qui donne $1,250 par mois à des dizaines de milliers d'étudiants. Et encore plus à des étudiants avec des enfants ou vivant avec un handicap. Nous avons créé plus d'aide par rapport aux prêts et bourses étudiants. Nous avons créé plus d'emplois par le programme d'employabilité jeunesse. Donc nous allons continuer d'appuyer les jeunes. Mais ce que ça veut dire, jusqu'à présent, on n'a pas pu donner de l'argent de $1,000 à $5,000 pour du bénévolat que ces jeunes sont en train de faire. Ne vous trompez pas, il y a des milliers de jeunes qui sont en train de faire du bénévolat de façon active cet été, qui sont en train d'aider dans leur communauté. Mais avec les délais liés à ce programme, avec l'organisme uni qui ne pourra pas livrer ce programme, on a des défis pour pouvoir donner cette récompense aux jeunes. En même temps, il y a énormément de jeunes qui continuent à servir dans leur communauté.
Prime Minister Mike Blanchfield, the Canadian Press. What exactly did your staffer, Rick Teese, tell we on May 5th that led them to believe that it was actually okay for them to start spending real money on a volunteering program plan that hadn't yet made it to
This was the conversation, as I understand it, between Rick Tice and we was a very quick conversation in which he mostly referred them back to ESDC. As the Kielburgers said a few days ago in their testimony, they made the decision that if the program was going to be delivered, they should start doing work even before it was approved by Cabinet. That was a decision that they took because they knew how important it was to get this program out, and they assumed certain risks in going forward and starting to spend on a program that hadn't yet been approved by Cabinet and would not be approved for another few weeks, particularly because I put the brakes on it a couple of days later. But it was a decision that they took. Given the pandemic situation, all timelines have been compressed. People are having to step up. They felt it was a good enough program that they were willing to take the risk of starting work even without the formal approval. But that was a decision they took because they believe deeply in helping young people and creating opportunities for young people who want to serve. La conversation entre Rick Tice et les gens de Oui était extrêmement brève. Il parlait de l'importance qu'ils travaillent avec le SDC pour la définition du programme. Mais on a entendu il y a quelques jours des Kielburgers directement qu'ils ont pris la décision d'aller de l'avant et de commencer à travailler sur ce programme, même avant que ce soit approuvé par le cabinet, parce qu'ils voulaient vraiment voir des jeunes Canadiens aider et pouvoir servir dans leur communauté. Ils ont entrepris le risque, c'était une décision qu'eux, ils ont prise, mais c'était une décision tout à fait comprenable étant donné la pandémie et leur engagement auprès des jeunes au Canada.
Brian Mullen, Global News. To follow up on some of the earlier questions, Prime Minister, through the due diligence performed by the public servants between May 8th and May 22nd, you asked for more info so you could be confident we was the only option to put the program forward. But knowing about your family's connections and potential conflicts, what specific information or due diligence was provided that made you confident by May 22nd that you didn't need to recuse yourself?
My ask of the public servants and of the minister was to absolutely make sure that what they were suggesting was the hard and cold truth, that there was no other organization that could deliver this program, that the delivery of this program was going to be successful, that this was the right organization for it. I asked them to go back and recheck their work to make sure that they could stand confidently and say, this is our recommendation, it is the right recommendation, and that was the request that I made. And when they came back to me in that intermediate time and gave me the solid assurance that it was the absolute certainty for the public service that this was the only way to deliver the program and it was the right way to deliver the program, I was willing to let it go to Cabinet on May 22nd.
But your concerns about the personal connections that your family had and potential conflicts?
Well, the concerns about the personal connections that my family had were all around perception. Were all around the fact that it was known that the WE organization was something that I had done work with, that my family had done work with, and therefore we needed to make sure that the public service and others could stand up and say, no, the decision to go with WE was because they are the right organization to deliver this, and indeed the only organization to deliver it. And that's where I pushed back, because I knew there would be perception issues around this. At the same time, the program to students who volunteer across the country has absolutely nothing to do with any work my brother or mother did with WE, and that's why conflict of interest. But the perception issue meant that I wanted to push back and really make sure that everyone could say without a shadow of a doubt that this was the program recommended, the way to deliver the program recommended by our outstanding and professional public servants. Je savais qu'il allait avoir des questions étant donné les connexions entre moi et l'organisme uni. Et c'est pour ça que j'ai demandé à la fonction publique de vérifier et de reconfirmer qu'ils avaient fait tout le travail, que effectivement c'était la seule façon de livrer ce programme, de passer, de travailler avec l'organisme uni, qu'ils aient parfaitement confiance, parce que je savais qu'il allait avoir des questions à cause des liens avec ma famille et l'organisme uni, et donc de pouvoir m'assurer à 100% que la fonction publique, dans leur indépendance, dans leur professionnalisme, allait dire et allait pouvoir confirmer qu'il n'y avait pas d'autre façon de livrer ce programme qu'avec eux. Pour moi, c'était la façon de compenser ou de contrer ces préoccupations politiques et de perception. Mais la réalité, c'est que d'aucune façon que de livrer des bourses aux jeunes qui font du bénévolat dans leur communauté à travers le pays, n'avait aucune intersection qui allait profiter à ma mère ou à mon frère qui n'a pas travaillé avec l'organisme uni depuis plusieurs années déjà.
Hi, Prime Minister. Molly Thomas, CTV National News. We went from being a charity, the only charity, as you said, to be able to handle this giant student portfolio, to taking a huge reputational nosedive and losing massive corporate sponsors. Do you take any responsibility for that?
I deeply regret the situation that has unfolded here. This is not how anyone wanted this to happen. This was a program designed to support young people who are volunteering in their communities and give them grants for those volunteer service hours. As we've seen, there are still thousands upon thousands of young people actively volunteering in their communities, but they won't be able to get that grant that is a recognition and in some cases an encouragement for them to step up as volunteers. The challenges that have followed for the WE organization and indeed the questions that have been asked of this government have been disappointing, because it gets in the way of the help that we've focused on doing for young people. We're not able to deliver this grant as of yet, although we're still working on trying to figure out a way to support young people who are volunteering. And the WE organization that has done excellent work over the past years in empowering young people and getting young people active in their communities, running clubs in almost every elementary school and high school, or many elementary schools and high schools across the country, has been extremely effective in empowering young people and getting them to volunteer. Obviously, the situation that has flowed from this is deeply regrettable, and I am deeply sorry that I didn't avoid much of this challenge. Instead, I chose to push back and ask for extra due diligence, but that wasn't the right choice, obviously.
Prime Minister, today you announced $59 million for protection of farm workers. I think about the people that have already lost their lives on Canadian soil. I know that Canada doesn't have a financial responsibility to those families. Is there any help for them? I mean, these are people that died bringing us food, and I know that some of them had to repatriate their bodies and pay for it themselves.
I think we look at the tragedies that have hit the temporary with deep sorrow. This is something that is on Canadians. We require support from people from around the world to grow our food, to harvest our food, to get food on Canadians' plates. And we've seen that there are multiple levels at which, in some cases, we have let those communities down. Whether it's farms that haven't been living up to the standards and expectations that we expect, or provincial governments or federal governments that haven't been properly involved in ensuring that standards are met and that people are protected. There are lots of changes we need to make, and we need to continue to work on supporting these people and these families as they support us with good food on our tables. Je pense que nous devons vraiment réfléchir à quel point nous en devons énormément à des travailleurs étrangers qui viennent pour nous aider à mettre pain sur la planche, à venir à nourrir les Canadiens, les familles canadiennes. Je pense qu'on a un système qui a démontré des échecs, que ce soit les fermes eux-mêmes, que ce soit la gestion provinciale ou fédérale de ce programme. Nous avons des améliorations à faire pour s'assurer que les gens qui sont là pour nourrir les Canadiens soient protégés comme il faut. Oui, nous avons annoncé des investissements aujourd'hui. Nous allons continuer de travailler avec les organismes, avec les travailleurs, avec les provinces et avec le milieu agricole pour s'assurer que nous avons des protections adéquates et de l'appui adéquat pour ces travailleurs qui sont si importants pour nous tous. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Bonne journée.